Beneath the neon skyline of Las Vegas, just a few blocks from the roaring casinos and five-star dreams, there lies a forgotten world. Locals call it the tunnels. Hidden beneath the Strip, a network of storm drains stretches for miles, and in their shadows, a quiet community survives. About 1,000 people live here, not by choice but by desperation. Some line the concrete walls with old rugs, string fairy lights above their heads. Others keep books, radios, even shrines. It's a strange kind of sanctuary, part home, part prison. They call it the underground. It's not just beneath the city. It's beneath everything we thought we knew about the American dream. Number 1, homelessness in Nevada today. Before we go any further, we need to understand where it all begins with the current state of homelessness in Nevada. As of early 2024, the number of people experiencing homelessness across Nevada reached more than 10,100 individuals. That's not just a statistic, it's a 10% increase from the year before, and it paints a troubling picture of a state that's growing fast, but not growing for everyone. Nowhere is this crisis more visible than in Clark County, home to Las Vegas. Here, more than 7,900 people are living without a stable home. That's a staggering 20% jump compared to 2023. Meanwhile, Washoe County, where the city of Reno is located, recorded around 1,760 people experiencing homelessness, a modest increase, but one that still adds pressure to local services and shelter systems. But perhaps the most alarming figure of all, nearly half, 48.6% of Nevada's homeless population, are completely unsheltered. That means they're not staying in shelters, cars, or temporary housing. They're outside every night. So where do they go? For some, the answer lies underground, literally. Beneath the glitzy hotels and buzzing casinos of Las Vegas, there's a labyrinth of storm drains and flood channels. In this dark, damp underworld, about 1,000 people have made a kind of home. They live in makeshift camps under flickering lights, shielded by concrete from the blistering desert sun. Some have mattresses laid over pallets, old rugs pinned to walls, and even framed photos or battery-powered fans. It's survival, but it's also community. A silent, invisible society thriving where most people would never think to look. Others set up tents along city sidewalks, beneath overpasses, or tucked away in public parks. These tent communities, though exposed to heat, cold, and police raids, offer at least some sense of stability and shared protection. But they're fragile. One storm, one sweep from the city, and everything can be gone in an instant. And it's not just about shelter or the lack of it. This crisis didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of rising housing costs, stagnant wages, and deep social inequality. Many of these individuals once had homes, jobs, families. Now they're navigating a system that's stretched thin and often stacked against them. But we'll get to that. Right now, it's crucial to understand this. Behind every number is a story. Behind every tent, a person. Nevada's homelessness crisis is not just about poverty. It's about policy. It's about priorities. And it's about people, real people caught in the margins of a state that millions visit for dreams, but where thousands sleep under bridges and in tunnels just trying to survive another day. Number 2. Root causes of the crisis. Homelessness doesn't just happen. It builds up slowly, quietly, like a crack in the foundation that no one wants to admit is growing. And in Nevada, that crack has become a chasm. To understand why so many are slipping through it, we need to look at what's driving this crisis from the ground up. Let's start with the basics: housing. Right now, Nevada is short more than 78,000 affordable housing units for low-income residents. That's not a typo. That's 78,000 people or more who simply have nowhere within reach to call home. And with demand rising faster than developers can build, the gap is only getting wider. Since the year 2018, the average cost of rent in Clark County, which includes Las Vegas, has jumped by over 55%. In some areas, a modest one-bedroom apartment now costs nearly $1,500 per month. For many families, especially those working minimum wage jobs, that's more than half their paycheck gone just for a roof. In fact, across the state, 7 out of every 10 low-income households spend more than 30% of their income on housing. That's what experts call being cost-burdened. It means every rent check comes with a question: will there be enough left for groceries, medicine, transportation? Now imagine getting laid off, or your car breaks down, or your child gets sick, and there's no safety net. It doesn't take long for things to spiral, but money isn't the only piece of this puzzle. For many, the crisis runs even deeper into the mind and body. According to data from 2024, nearly 39% of people experiencing homelessness in Nevada struggle with substance use disorders. That's not just addiction. It's often trauma, untreated pain, or self-medication for something darker. And when it comes to mental health, the numbers are even more sobering. Almost 45% face some form of serious mental illness, from bipolar disorder to schizophrenia. Even more alarming, over 54% report symptoms of clinical depression. These are not just statistics. They are silent battles being fought every day, often without support. And support, that's another problem. Nevada has one of the lowest ratios of mental health providers per capita in the country. Many cities in the state, especially outside of urban hubs, lack specialized treatment centers or detox facilities altogether. Even in Las Vegas, the wait time for psychiatric care can stretch into months. For someone on the edge, that kind of delay can be the difference between recovery and relapse. To make matters worse, navigating the system is complicated even more so if you don't have ID insurance or transportation. The few services that do exist are overwhelmed, underfunded, and often too far away for people living on the streets to access. So what happens when rising rents, stagnant wages, addiction trauma, and a broken healthcare system all collide? You get a storm, and right now Nevada is in the eye of it. This crisis is not about laziness or bad decisions. It's about a society that's failed to keep up with its most basic promise that everyone, no matter their past, their income, or their diagnosis, deserves a place to feel safe. And until that promise is kept, the tent cities will grow, the tunnels will fill, and thousands of Nevadans will continue to live on the edge, unseen, unheard, and unsheltered. Number 3. Social and economic impacts. Homelessness isn't just a personal crisis. It ripples outward into neighborhoods, onto balance sheets, and deep into the conscience of a city. In Nevada, that ripple has become a wave, crashing into nearly every layer of society. Let's start with what's visible and what's not. Over the past 5 years, Nevada has seen one of the fastest-growing economies in the western United States, but that prosperity has not been evenly shared. According to a 2025 report from the Nevada Housing Coalition, wealth among the top 10% of earners has increased by more than 40% since 2020. Meanwhile, the lowest 20% have seen their income drop or stagnate, leaving many unable to keep up with rent, healthcare, or basic living expenses. This divide isn't just economic, it's emotional. For those experiencing homelessness, the feeling of being left behind is compounded by something far more painful: stigma. In cities across Nevada, people without homes are often treated as criminals rather than citizens. From being denied entry into restaurants to facing harassment in public spaces, discrimination is a daily reality, and the consequences run deep. When someone is seen as a problem instead of a person, it becomes that much harder for them to access services, find employment, or even ask for help. But the impact doesn't stop at social fabric. It hits the economy hard too. Let's talk numbers. In 2024, Nevada spent over $480 million on emergency services related to homelessness. That includes everything from police response and hospital visits to shelter operations and sanitation. And these are just the direct costs. The hidden ones, like lost productivity, untreated chronic illness, and emotional toll on first responders, are even harder to quantify. What's more, homelessness is beginning to threaten one of Nevada's most sacred industries: tourism. In Las Vegas alone, tourism generates nearly $60 billion each year, supporting thousands of jobs and funding essential public services. But an increasing number of visitors have begun to take note and speak out about the visible homelessness in tourist-heavy areas. Online reviews mention tent encampments, just steps from hotels, travel blogs warn of safety concerns in certain downtown districts. In a city that relies on image as much as infrastructure, this kind of attention can damage the brand. Number 4. Daily life on the streets. But statistics alone can't capture the full picture, because behind every number is a life. To truly understand the weight of this crisis, we have to step into the shoes of those living it every single day. Every morning, Maria wraps her blanket around her shoulders like armor. She sleeps under a pedestrian bridge in North Las Vegas, where the only roof is the concrete above her head and the only alarm clock is the rising heat. She wakes up early before the sun turns the asphalt into a stovetop. Her first task of the day: find water, not coffee, not breakfast, just clean water. Maria is 52. She used to be a hotel housekeeper. But when her mother fell ill and she had to take unpaid leave, everything spiraled. The bills piled up. The eviction notice came. Then one thing led to another, and now she's part of a growing number of older women experiencing homelessness in Nevada. What makes her situation harder isn't just the lack of housing. It's the fact that she can't get her diabetes medication anymore. She lost her ID 2 years ago, and without it, she can't renew her Medicaid apply for affordable housing, or even get help from many nonprofit clinics. She's been turned away from pharmacies, denied entry into a shelter, and told more times than she can count to try again when you have your documents. For Maria, every errand is a battle every day, a marathon just to survive. And then there's the silence. Maria says the worst part isn't the hunger or even the fear of sleeping outside. It's how people stop looking you in the eye. When I was working, people used to greet me. Now they just look through me, she says, like I don't exist. This emotional isolation can be just as damaging as the physical hardship many unhoused Nevadans report, withdrawing from public spaces not because they want to, but because they're tired of being judged or worse, ignored. Some avoid asking for help at all. They'd rather go without than endure another round of whispered insults or nervous stares. And for those struggling with mental health issues, like Maria's friend Rico, who battles severe anxiety, this rejection becomes a vicious loop. Rico once tried to visit a clinic for help, but says he had a panic attack in the waiting room after being told to just sit and wait like everyone else. Now he avoids all official buildings. Instead, he talks to himself under the bridge, scribbles poetry in a notebook, and hopes someone might stop and listen. These are not outliers. These are real human stories behind a growing emergency. Yes, the heat is dangerous, and yes, the healthcare system is hard to access, but at the core of this crisis is something deeper, a loss of belonging, a loss of voice. Being homeless isn't just about not having a house. It's about not having a space where you're allowed to be. And until that changes, people like Maria and Rico will keep waking up under bridges, not because they want to, but because they've been given no other choice. Number 5. Challenges and controversial policies. Fixing homelessness isn't just about compassion. It's about infrastructure. It's about policy, and it's about political will. But in Nevada, even the best intentions are often trapped beneath layers of structural challenges and legal roadblocks. If you want to understand why the crisis persists, you have to start here. Let's talk about housing again. Because no matter how many shelters open or meals are handed out without permanent affordable housing, the cycle continues. As of early 2025, Nevada is still short more than 78,000 affordable housing units for low-income residents according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. That number hasn't budged much over the past 2 years. Why? In part because the cost of building is skyrocketing, and in part because Nevada's budget simply can't keep up. Here's where it gets complicated. Nevada is one of only 9 states in the country with no state income tax. That might sound great if you're earning a high salary, but for public programs, it's a massive limitation. Without that steady stream of tax revenue, Nevada relies heavily on sales taxes, federal grants, and local bonds to fund social services. That includes mental health clinics, housing assistance addiction, recovery programs, all of which are chronically underfunded. In short, Less money means fewer long-term solutions. Emergency shelters might keep people alive for a night, but they don't solve the root of the problem. Without investment in housing and preventative care, Nevada remains stuck in a loop, treating the symptoms, but never the disease. And then there are the laws. In an attempt to clean up public spaces, especially in downtown Las Vegas and Reno, some cities have enacted ordinances that ban sleeping or camping in public areas. On paper, these laws are about public safety. But in practice, they often criminalize people simply for having nowhere else to go. Take Senate Bill 45 proposed in late 2024. It aimed to enforce stricter penalties on individuals who set up tents in parks, sidewalks, or underpasses. Critics argued it would effectively turn homelessness into a misdemeanor. Supporters said it would reduce litter, improve public health, and restore order to the city streets. But here's the problem: when housing is unavailable and shelters are full, where exactly are people supposed to go? A 2025 legal review by the Nevada Law Center found that more than 40% of arrests related to public camping in Las Vegas over the past year involved individuals who had already applied for shelter and were turned away due to capacity limits. In other words, these weren't rule breakers. These were people out of options. Advocacy groups like the American Civil Liberties Union and the Nevada Homeless Alliance have challenged these laws, saying they punish poverty instead of addressing it. And across the country, similar ordinances have been struck down as unconstitutional, yet enforcement continues. The irony: these crackdowns don't reduce homelessness. They often make it worse. A criminal record makes it even harder to secure housing, find employment, or qualify for services. Fines go unpaid, warrants stack up, and people who already live on the margins are pushed even further into the shadows. So where do we go from here? Real progress means shifting the focus from enforcement to empowerment. It means recognizing that tents and sleeping bags are not the cause of homelessness. They're symptoms of deeper failures. It means funding housing, not handcuffs. Until Nevada invests in long-term solutions and rethinks its legal approach, the crisis will remain not just visible, but increasingly unmanageable. Because no one should be arrested for being poor, and no one should be punished for sleeping under the stars, when all they ever wanted was a door to close behind them. Number 6. Support programs and local efforts. In the face of a crisis that often feels overwhelming, it's easy to lose sight of one simple truth: change is already happening. Across Nevada, a web of nonprofits, religious groups, and government-backed services are working quietly but tirelessly to rewrite the story, one person at a time. Let's start with the Nevada Homeless Alliance, or NHA for short. Since its founding over 2 decades ago, this grassroots organization has become a lifeline for the unhoused community. But their work goes beyond charity. Through events like Project Homeless Connect, held twice a year in Clark County, they turn parking lots and public spaces into full-service hubs. We're talking ID recovery booths, medical checkups, housing assessments, haircuts, even pet care, all offered in one place on one day, no strings attached. In 2024 alone, Project Homeless Connect served more than 3,000 individuals in southern Nevada, offering direct services that would normally take months to access. For many, it's the first time they feel seen, not just counted. Then there's Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada, one of the largest faith-based service providers in the state. Their shelter downtown provides over 600 beds nightly, along with hot meals, hygiene facilities, and spiritual counseling for those who want it. But what really sets them apart is their long-term housing program, which helps individuals transition from temporary shelter into stable homes, often paired with case management, job training, and mental health support. For folks who don't know where to start. Nevada 211 is a game changer. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week information hotline that connects people in crisis to services in their area, whether it's shelter, food, transportation, or healthcare. The platform handled more than 420,000 calls statewide in 2024 and has expanded its texting and online options to better reach younger populations and those without consistent access to phones. Speaking of young people, The help of Southern Nevada has stepped up in a big way to address youth homelessness, one of the fastest-growing subgroups in the state. Their Shannon West Homeless Youth Center provides not only beds, but also life skills programs, therapy sessions, and education support for teens and young adults, ages 16 to 24. As of 2025, they've helped over 700 youth transition out of homelessness, many of whom were formerly in foster care or fleeing abusive homes. But despite these efforts, the demand is growing faster than the resources. Waitlists for housing programs can stretch 6 to 9 months. Mental health clinics run by nonprofits are often booked solid and outreach workers. They're burning out, juggling dozens of cases at a time. These aren't failures. They're signs of a system operating at full capacity and still not meeting the need. Still, the work continues, because behind every statistic is a success story. A veteran who found stability after years on the street, a single mother reunited with her children, a teenager who finally finished high school. These victories may not make headlines, but they matter deeply. And they remind us that solving homelessness isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistent, coordinated support from people who believe that everyone deserves a second chance. So the next time someone says nothing's being done, point them here to the shelters, the hotlines, the outreach vans moving through the night. The fight is far from over, but hope is very much alive. The homelessness crisis in Nevada isn't just a matter of numbers. It's a reflection of the deeper fractures in our society. From the scorching sidewalks of Las Vegas to the shelters struggling to meet demand, we've seen that this is not a challenge one group can solve alone. It takes all of us, governments, nonprofits, neighbors, and yes, storytellers, to build lasting change. Long-term solutions are within reach. More affordable housing, better access to mental health and addiction services, and sustained investment in community-based support. If this story moved, you sparked a question, or made you see Nevada in a new light, consider giving it a like, subscribing to NVL Travel Documentary, or sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters more than you know, because every place has more than one story, and sometimes the most important ones are happening just out of view.